All right, let's talk Maple Leaf goaltending here, right? Joseph Woll, his new deal kicks in this season, 3 years, 3.67 million per year. That's his cap hit. Anthony Stolarz has 1 year left on his deal, 2.5 million, which means, Carlo, as you know, as of today, the Maple Leafs and Anthony Stolarz can talk extension. Do you think they should do that?
I think they absolutely should. I mean, when you look at the season that Stolarz had last year, his first season given the opportunity to be a starter, because I mean, he's been a career backup his whole tenure in the NHL. You know, sat behind Bobrovsky, watching him win a Stanley Cup, comes to Toronto, and immediately turns heads in Toronto. I mean, you talk about the goals against average, the save percentage, all tops in the league. And for a 31-year-old finally getting the net, you kind of wonder how much different the season would have been for the Leafs if he would have been available for them in the second round versus the Florida Panthers. Could they maybe have won this series if Stolarz was the guy? I think if you ask people in the Leafs organization, they believe if Stolarz was in the net, they probably do win that series. So if you're looking at Stolarz right now and he's your number one guy going into this season, why wouldn't you look at extending a 31-year-old coming off his first full season where you're giving him the net? I mean, he played 34 games, a career high, at that position. I think they'd be missing out right now in the boat if they let him at least go into the season not with an extension and maybe flirting with the idea of having another great season and then going to the open market. Look what the players are getting in the open market today.
Well, exactly. Now, that's the thing, though. He's still going to be looking at it, Stolarz, and saying, I want more money and I want term. And I think he would be deserving of that based on what he did this year. Like you mentioned, career stats in terms of starts, in terms of numbers, but not a legitimate number one because he only started 33 games. Right. And he did get injured in the playoffs. Yes, it was kind of a greasy play by Sam Bennett, but still, that's been his history. How many starts can Stolarz give you? And I think Joseph Woll, with his deal kicking in, that's probably a benchmark for where Stolarz is looking to start. Right now, again,
for a new contract.
I would think. Like,
I would think it's going to be higher than that.
I would think so too. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's a UFA. Woll, they got out in front of because he was a restricted free agent, and they were paying him based on potential. Where Stolarz this year obviously put forth, a lot of really quality production. So I think it's going to cost. I don't know what that number is. $4 million a year, $5 million a year. How much term do you want to go with for a guy that I don't think at this stage in his career is ever going to start 50-plus games?
Right.
Like, he's never going to be a true number one beast. So if you're going with the tandem, I think it makes sense for them to be proactive here. It doesn't have to happen on July 1st, but at some point between now and opening night. Because you're right. If he plays just the same season he had this year, next year, it's going to cost even more because the cap's going to go up again. And there's potential other teams are going to start sniffing around.
And just look around the league at teams that need goaltending.
Yeah.
Right? You don't think there'd be teams lining up for Anthony Stolarz' services right now? And I think if you look at what to project his contract could look like, I mean, you got to look at maybe $5-6 million a year. And I'm comfortable giving a guy like Stolarz a 4-year deal at $5-6 million a year because think about it. He's a guy that's had to wait till 31 to get his first look at a starting gig in the NHL. You think he's going to pass that up if he gets offered that?
He's going to want to get that. That's a good point. You're saying, like, if the Leafs put it in front of him, it's going to be very enticing for him to take it.
Because, he's found a spot in Toronto where he feels like he's the guy. And I think what the Maple Leafs do have is a great tandem because Joseph Woll has potential to be number one, too. And if you get both goalies locked in at under $10 million a year, I think gone are the days where you look at a guy to play 65-plus games.
Yeah, there's like a handful of guys in the league.
Yeah, a handful of guys that can do it. I mean, Bobrovsky's one of them. I mean, look what he just did.
But can do it. Not many guys.
Can do it. But at some point, you got to start taking some of these games away from these guys and make them more fresh for the playoffs. The Leafs can do that with Woll and Stolarz. You lock up Stolarz for somewhere around $5 million for the next 4 years. I think it's a home run.
Yeah, I think it would be a smart play, and I think it's a cheat code for regular season success. And what I mean by that is, Marner leaving.
Yep.
What are the Leafs going to do up front? How are they going to score enough goals? The best way to control your destiny in the regular season is goaltending. If you have two really good goaltenders and every night you're going to get someone fresh that's on their toes, that's the best way to accumulate points
100%.
and punch your ticket. Now, come playoff time, we don't know what Stolarz could become.
Somebody's got to take charge of the net.
Someone's got to take it.
Yeah.
But if we're talking salary cap, it's about the regular season and getting there, and I think that would be a big part of the thinking for Stolarz and the Maple Leafs.
And you're talking about DNA change. They just lost a 100-point guy. Well, what's a way, like you just said, to guarantee or at least
put yourself in a position where you
Yeah.
feel good about making the playoffs.
Focus on strengths in other areas. Be
Yep.
good at all their defense is coming back. You get both goaltenders locked up. That's a great start, and then you hopefully start to fill out pieces, and you maybe hope for guys like Nyes or Easton Cowan or Michelli, who they just brought in, and who knows who they could potentially add even more throughout the summer here, replacing Marner. But that's a good start. Great goaltending, great defense. You build up from there.
Absolutely. So again, as of July 1st, Anthony Stolarz not a UFA, but he is eligible for an extension. We'll see if the Maple Leafs kick tires on that.
Sign them.